Alright, geezers, Mario here. Now, in my last video, my big announcement of Overtime the movie, if you haven't checked it out, make sure you do. I'm going to be directing my own horror flick, yay. I mentioned within the video about my love of the horror community, specifically the community on whole, and how I have fallen in love with the people that are fans and creators of horror. And I just wanted to record a video and let you know why. Because, yeah, okay, I wrote a horror comic book and I'm about to direct a horror film. Yeah, there are specific reasons for this. It's not just because of my love of the genre itself, even though I do love it so much and have done for many, many years. But I'm incredibly passionate about being part of that community. Again, for many, many reasons, which I will share with you now. So, I mean, it started when I was a kid and got into horror. I was petrified at first of horror movies. I would go to the video shop with my dad to rent flicks, and I'd always be scared of the horror aisle, but weirdly attracted to it. There was something about the artwork on the boxes of those old VHS tapes, those big box ones here in the UK, and artwork like my good friend Graham Humphreys created for movies like Basket Case and Nightmare on Elm Street and Evil Dead, but also Hellraiser with just that visage of Pinhead on the cover. It just really used to freak me out when I was a kid. And it wasn't until I was about 11 or 12 that I actually, grew a set and watched Nightmare on Elm Street 3 because of my friend Michelle. Thanks, Michelle. She got me into it. I went to a Halloween party there and we're all hanging out, like bobbing for apples and watching Treehouse of Horrors, Simpsons, and all that good stuff that you do when you're about 10, 11 years old. And then Nightmare 3 came on, and I spent most of the night hidden behind Michelle's mum's back whilst the rest of my friends were gleefully watching this flick, and I was just, again, petrified. But I got over my fear and I started watching the movies, and I loved the movies. But my first exposure to the community on whole, like obviously not including my friends that are really into it, was in 2004. And I flew over to New Jersey in America. There was a big convention there. It was a crossover convention between Fangoria and Chiller Theatre. I think it's the only one they've ever done. They were big rivals before then, and they did a convention together. And I went because it was a Friday the 13th reunion. There was lots of actors from across the franchise there meeting fans, and I wanted to be a part of it. So, I knew I was going to meet these people and get autographs and all of that jazz. But what I didn't expect was meeting the other fans, the like-minded people there, and becoming great friends with them. I mean, this is 14 years ago now. And there's a couple of them I'm still really good friends with now. Emmy and Amy specifically. How you doing, ladies? I hope you're both really well. Yeah, so, we, after the convention, we would meet up on the Fangoria boards and email each other. First it was MySpace, and then it was Fangoria, Facebook, and, keep in touch. And there's that one thing that will always bond us, and it's our love of horror. And it's a strange thing, the love of horror, or is it? Because in essence, what we're doing is we're celebrating an art form that delves into our fears of untimely death. Death that comes, with most of these films at a very young age. And normally it's to do with a ghost or a demon that goes bump in the night, or it's a psychopath with a mask and a sharp implement that likes nothing more than to poke holes into nubile teenage victims. But we love it. We love it. And we always start off in the franchise. You've got your protagonist and you've got your antagonist, and we root for the protagonist. And but for some reason, with slasher movies, let's use that as an example. As they go on, we start rooting for the bad guy. Why do we do this? Why do we love this celebration of the macabre? Why do we, fall in love with these villains who, if they were real, would want nothing more than to slit our throats and dump us in a river? And I don't have a full answer. I mean, that's not what this video is all about. I mean, maybe it's to do with human survival instinct. You're sitting in a safe environment where you know that these things can't actually hurt you. But it's that fantasy realm, isn't it? Of what would you do if you were in that situation? And part of it reflects with the whole, screaming at the screen and saying, "Oh, switch the light on," or "Don't go in that room," or "Why aren't you running away?" And you know, so yeah, we kind of live vicariously through it, and it becomes a group experience afterwards. So that's kind of my very brief analysis of the genre. I mean, obviously, it goes much deeper than that, and I could spend many hours and write many essays on all of the intricacies of the horror genre itself. But that's not what I'm here for. I want to celebrate the community. So as I said, I've been to many conventions since then, and I've met many people since then. And firstly, as a fan, and joining these fellow fans of mine in our love and celebration, and they're always willing to embrace you. I mean, I've been to cons in, like I said, the US, obviously the UK, and Germany as well. And these guys are amazing. They're also loving when I wrote Video Nasty. And again, doing the convention scene to promote the comic book. The people that would come to my table to purchase the book, or maybe they'd bring their own copy for me to sign. You do the general chit chat, the niceties, the small talk. You would talk about the comic itself, but there's a big chunk of people that just want to geek out with you and talk about horror, talk about your mutual love, and then they became friends as well. Again, maybe only on social media, but it doesn't matter. I mean, there's still quite a few people that I've met on the convention scene that, given the opportunity, I'd happily hang out with. You'll know who you are. I hope you do, at least, anyway. Because they're good people. They're good people. They're into this very strange genre, like I said, that's very macabre and very grisly. But that doesn't reflect on who they are. And that's the fans. And they're amazing. They're all amazing. But then there's the people that work in front and behind the camera, the actors and actresses and the crew of these movies. And again, I've met many of them. Again, as a fanboy, and proud of it. I've met Doug Bradley, I've met Robert Englund, Kane Hodder, I've met Bruce Campbell, and all of them, every single one of them have been amazing. Like, it sounds like hyperbole, and it sounds like I'm kissing ass. And it sounds like just because I'm about to make a horror movie, I want to get the people behind me to support the flick. That's not the case. I mean, if you are a horror fan, you already know that this is true, what I'm about to say. And yeah, of course I want your support. Of course I want you to watch the movie and give it its support and stuff. But if you've been to a horror convention, you know. Because I've been to many conventions. It's not just exclusively horror. Maybe you meet people from TV shows, sci-fi, across the gamut, comic book writers and artists. And horror is the one and only genre that I can say safely, hand on my heart, I swear to God, everyone's lovely and everyone will give you time. When I went to New Jersey all those years ago, I took a video camera with me. I've always been keen on making film in one way, shape or form. And I wanted to record a little mini documentary. And this was before the days of YouTube and or at least the popularity of YouTube. I don't actually know if it was out at that point. But it was just for my friends. I just wanted to record and edit a little video that me and my friends could all sit down and watch and laugh at. And I asked a bunch of people for interviews, and they all said yes. And we're talking Kane Hodder, Tom Savini, Jonathan Breck, Ari Lehman. There was a few others as well. I apologise for not remembering. I don't make notes. I normally riff when I do these videos. But they said yes. And they just hung out with me, a fanboy, with a camcorder, no professional setup, and recorded interviews with me. And then fast forward to not even that long ago, a couple of years ago, I was at a comic book convention in Bedford, the Nice Comic Con, and Charlie Adlard was there of the Walking Dead fame. And again, I just wanted to record a little video because Video Nasty was out at that point, and just talk, from one horror comic book creator to another about our love of horror and comic books as well. But again, no quibbles, no arguments, no nothing. He was just like, yep, let's do it. And we did it, and it was cool. One day I'll release the footage. Like I said, this has all been for personal stuff. This has never been to get out there. But one day I will. I'll release all the footage. Oh, and then finally, I've met a bunch of directors as well. Most of them at conventions. A couple of them have I've spoken to, in personal time. One in particular is a very good friend of mine, and I'm going to give him a big shout out in a minute. But I'm going to name drop here: Dario Argento, Toby Hooper, and Mick Garris. Those three in particular took time to give me advice as an aspiring director. Toby Hooper especially, we lost him very shortly after I was able to meet him. And we had a great chat. We spoke about William Friedkin and The Exorcist. I didn't realise this, but Friedkin was a mentor of Hooper's. And, the two of them had very specific methods on filmmaking. And Mr. Hooper was so generous to pass that down to me. And give me his advice, and I have taken it, and I've taken it very seriously, and I will utilise it within my career. Mick Garris I had a great conversation with in Cincinnati. I went to the Horror Hound convention a couple of years back. By the way, those guys there at Horror Hound, Jason and Michelle especially, who run the independent film festival there at the Horror Hound convention. Again, super awesome, super lovely, willing to give advice, and their time. They're just nice people. This is the thing. Every single person I'm talking about is just a lovely person. And this is why I fucking love the horror community. They are amazing. The one person that I need to give the biggest shout out to is Jake West. Now, Jake has directed feature films and documentaries. He directed the Video Nasties definitive guides, the 2 volumes for them. And they influenced me to no end when I wrote the comic book. Well, the first one did anyway. The second one came out in 2014, the same year that I put Video Nasty out. For those of you that didn't know, I used to own a comic book shop, and then I lost my business because I was a shit businessman at the time. And then I got into a car accident and I broke my back. So I was laid up at home for a while recuperating. And I was like, well, I need to do something. And I started writing comics. Before I got into that, though, I mean, I knew I wanted to, but I didn't have a seed of an idea. But I'm laying up there, and there's nothing much that I could do other than watch TV whilst I'm recovering. And I watched the Video Nasties documentary, and it just lit a fire in me. And I knew that that's something that I could write about. What I didn't realise at the time is that when I did own my comic book shop, that Jake had reached out to me. It wasn't Jake himself, it was someone that worked for him. They were making a movie called Doghouse, starring Danny Dyer. and one of the scenes was set in a comic book shop. And someone on the production team dropped me an email and said, look, we need some comics to dress the set. Would you be able to help out? And I was like, yeah, of course. And we worked a deal out and everything was great. And that was it. I got a credit. Our comic book shop, Apocalypse Comics, got a credit in the end credits. And it was great. It was a fun experience. And it was something that when I had the shop, I could talk about and brag about. But I didn't put two and two together at first, that the guy who directed Doghouse was the guy that directed this documentary that had inspired me to write my first script. And when I realised this, I reached out to Jake and dropped him an email, and he emailed back and he read my script and he gave me advice. And I took that advice on board, and I went away and I redrafted and finished the script and put the book out there, and it ended up being a success. And that would not have happened without Jake. Oh, and then after that, he helped me to promote it. When he had the premiere screening of Video Nasty's Volume 2, Draconian Days, he and Mark as well, the producer, I can't forget Mark, they allowed me to come to the premiere, which was being held by Fright Fest in Scotland. And Jake brought me up on stage and, let me talk to the crowd and tell them who I was and what the comic was about. And I gave samples away to the people there. And that was huge for me. Massive. That's just publicity that you cannot pay for. And he didn't owe me anything. Nothing at all. Yeah, right, I helped him out with the Doghouse thing, but, he helped me out by helping me with the script. So, we were even. I never would have held it against him anyway if he hadn't have done that. But like I'm saying, these people are good people. They want to help and support other people that, are passionate about creating within this genre. And that's why I want to be a part of it. It's a real community. It's like a family atmosphere here. So, yeah. Now, don't get me wrong, this is my first film, and I hope that this is the start of a big career for me. It is going to be the start of a big career for me. You've got to think positive. I have no reason to think otherwise. And I'm not going to be a director that directs just horror and that's it. But this is my roots. So when the day comes, however long in the future that is, that I direct something that's different, that isn't horror, I hope you stick with me. You've always stuck with me. You guys that have been following me for the past few years, you're so loyal, and I appreciate it so much. Bit of a cough there. I'm not going to edit that out. Can't be asked. I'm a lazy filmmaker. I'm not. That's crap. No, but I'm keeping this real. Anyway, look, I have blabbed on for damn near 20 minutes. And if you stuck with me this far, then kudos to you, because this is going to be a long video. One last thing before I go. This has been a bit of an insight to me, my motives behind the film, to a certain extent, at least anyway, at least with the genre and, my love of the community, my pride to be a part of that community. But there's a lot of other people that I want to introduce you to. So I'm going to shoot more videos between now and whenever Overtime comes out. And it's going to be a little insight. I'm going to introduce you to the cast and the crew and show you who they are. We're not going to talk about Overtime constantly, and we're not necessarily going to be talking about horror exclusively. I just want you to meet these people because they're good people. They're hard workers. They love cinema and they want to create something really good for you guys to enjoy. So I want you to support them as much as you're supporting me, as much as you're supporting the project. Because I can't do this by myself. It's a massive collaborative gig. Anyway, look, I'm going to go. But thank you again for your time. Enjoy your weekend. And yeah, I'll see you very soon. Peace.